Well, where we left off in InDesign is that we have these vector files, graphics, raster graphics combined together, but now we're going to add text in along with this. And I'm thinking more about process rather than is this maybe the coolest, best looking layout I could ever have? Okay. Now I don't need this grid on the background anymore, so I'm going to turn that off. So I'm going to go up to grids and guides, and I'm going to turn off the snapping for that. And I'm also going to turn off the display, hide document grid. Okay. And I'm also going to do a couple things. I'm going to unlock all my layers, but I'm going to lock so that's page 1. I have to go to page 2 to get access to that. So I'm going to make sure those two are accessed. Go to page 3. Now I'm locking the individual things within the folder, but I'm not locking the folder, the layer itself, because I'm going to add text. So I'm going to go back up here to page 1, and I'm going to go page 1 down here. So page 2, page 1. Okay. And make sure we're centered. Okay. And so now I'm going to click on this layer, even though it's locked, because I want my text to be added on top of that. And I'm going to pick the text tool, but I need to do something first. I need to open up my text. And I'm going to do a copy paste of texting. So remember, one of my folders is this text folder, and I have my Tale of Two Cities text here, and I still have bugs in that. Uh, and we're going to leave the bugs in there for now. But I'm going to grab that, copy, and I selected it all, copy, and then I go to InDesign, and I'm going to pick this place tool, or the text type tool. So I pick that, and then I have to draw a box. So I have this text tool, and there's a little kind of like left, top right edge to that, hard to see at the beginning. But I pick that. I'm going to line that up with my columns, and I'm going to go all the way over to, I'm going to do a 3 and 2. So I'm going to line up with 3 column there. And then I'm going to type Control V to paste. And so I pasted that text in. So first I made a box, and then I pasted the text in. Now all of the text didn't fit in there. So I'm going to go, and where did that text go? Okay, I'm interrupting myself. So I'm going to pick the selection tool, and then down here in the bottom corner, you see there's that little red arrow, or let me see, what is it, an arrow, or is it a plus sign, a little plus sign inside there. I'm going to zoom back out a little bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick that plus sign, and then I'm going to go up to the other column, and I'm going to draw another box here. So now I'm doing something kind of weird. I have a 5 column grid. I'm using 3 and 2. And why? Because I can. Okay, and I'm just doing it to show options more than anything. Now, the type is all there, and it's all fitting into this one page, but I want the text to be larger. Plus, the second thing is that I don't want the text to overlap my images. So I'm going to create a shape that blocks off the text. And the one we're going to do in a couple of steps. So here's how I like doing this. I'm going to go down. I make sure I'm in page 1, page 2 or 3 are locked off, and I'm going to pick a shape tool. I pick a shape. And at the beginning, I want to make sure that up here that it's basically making an empty shape, and that's important. So there's no outline and there's no color. And so I'm going to go up here and I'm going to draw a shape. Oops. undo, and then undo again. I'm going to draw a shape again. So I'm going to lock my type for now. So I'm going to pick those two and lock them. So then when I draw my shape, I don't accidentally pick something else. So now I have that shape picked right there. And I'm going to have that actually go pretty close to, oops, I tried to draw another shape. I go back to the selection tool. I'm going to pick the second one, pick the tool. Oh, I think I have to pick the first one. And I'm going to scale it so it's pretty close to the type. Actually, I'm going to have it line up right on the edge of the type on the bottom. Okay. And I'm going to draw another box, another rectangle. And this one, well, I can't have a rectangle because it's got that weird curve in it. So I'm going to get the pen tool and I'm going to draw a point and a point, a curve. This is like drawing in Illustrator. Click. And I'm following that curve of the one, curve, and I go back up here and close that shape. So now, very important, is that over here in my list, I have point and I have rectangle. And I could click, and if I click on path, not point, you can see it's selected. You can see the little control points are picked. Or if I pick that one, it's picked. And then if I pick this one, we can see that it's picked. Okay. And the path one is off a little bit. I could select it. I could nudge it a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. Now, in my layout, I have paragraph styles, layers, and text wrap and characters side by side. And I'll show you why. So I'm going to pick path and rectangle. Now they are the only two that are not locked in that folder, which is good. And then I pick those two and I pick text wrap. And text wrap has these options. And the one that's automatically picked is no wrap. And I'm going to pick the wrap around object shape. And when I did that, you can see the text moved around the shape. And so now I'm going to go back into my layer and I'm going to adjust these individually. So I'm going to pick the path, the top one. I can make sure just that one is picked. And I'm going to pick text wrapped. And now I have more options. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to go back to layer and I'm going to pick the rectangle. And in text wrap, I have more options for the rectangle. Okay, so I'm going to do that. So now I'm going to zoom out. Okay, and I like that. And the text is wrapping around the type. Cool. Layer. Now I'm going to lock those two guys. My layer is still unlocked. And now I'm going to make a shape for my fax machine. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to take the pen tool. And I don't want any text over here in this bottom corner. So I'm going to make a shape that kind of gets that. So I'm going to pick the pen tool and I'm going pretty close to the shape. And I don't care about the shadow because I want the shadow to fade into the background, but I'm kind of going over the shape. And I'm more concerned about the left side being enclosed and the right side hugging the shape because I don't want text to appear over in here. So I picked that shape here. It's selected in my layer. Go to text wrap, pick the wrapping option, and then I can up and I can pick the same distance that I picked for the other type on the other side. So they should look similar. And because when I made these lines, I hugged the shape really close to the artwork, then when I start adjusting this width here, then it's going to match. Okay, so we're going to save our file and we're going to do our last tweaking of InDesign.